Hello, everyone. Welcome to HTM On The Line podcast, the podcast that is for HTM by HTM. I'm your host, Bryant Hawkins Sr. Have you ever considered how someone's career trajectory can shift dramatically due to a national tragedy like 9/11? Our guest, Maggie Berkey from Kearney, Nebraska, experienced just that, leading her from laser electronics to the heart of healthcare technology management. Maggie's involvement in committees, project management, and equipment maintenance reveals the complexities of HTM and underscores the critical role it plays in patient care. The episode culminates in a forward-looking discussion on the necessity of adaptability and the spirit of continuous learning within HTM. We close with a nod to the future, emphasizing the importance of nurturing the next generation skills in robotics and programming to meet the industry's evolving demands. So settle in and immerse yourself in this captivating and enlightening podcast experience. Maggie, welcome to HTM On The Line. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Brian?
I'm doing well. I'm glad you took a little time out your busy schedule to come hang out with me this evening. Hopefully we can have a good time talking with each other.
Yes, sir. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for inviting me and for what you're doing for the field, sir.
What inspired you to enter the HTM industry? What got you on this journey? I'm curious.
Honestly, it was my mom. She had seen a posting in the local newspaper that there was a laser electronics program starting at my alma mater and encouraged me to give it a try. She thought, it would be a more of a man's field, and said that it would be something I could do and would help me get some job security. And fast forward, I went to 2 years electronics equivalent and graduated from the laser program, started working in that field, and 9/11 came along and shut down a lot of the jobs that were in that industry. So that pushed me into working as a home health aide. And that's where I found out how hard nursing professionals work. And I really loved taking care of people, but I also loved to fix problems. And so fast forward a few more years, and I got married and started having babies, and my husband said, well, why are we paying for this education that you're not using? So we were back where by Sioux Falls, South Dakota, where my alma mater is, and I went and took a look at what there was, and they had a 1-year biomed track that, as long as you had the 2 years of electronics equivalent, you could get that degree. And so I went for it, and all the doors just seemed to open, and it all flowed really easy. So I kind of knew it was what I should be doing. And after graduating, I probably put out at least 80 applications and sat for probably 7 interviews. And Vicki Snyder at the University of Minnesota Medical Center took a chance on me. And it's kind of history from there.
Wow. Now, every time I ask someone how did they get into the HTM industry, everyone has a different story. But I've never had no one tell me their mother introduced them to the industry. So the list keeps getting longer. That's pretty awesome. I mean, how did you feel when your mom was like, why don't you try to work on lasers? Did that kind of make you
Well,
say, what is this about? I mean,
you got to understand, my mom was a truck driver,
oh, okay.
and she's just a strong, caring, fearless woman. And, she had 8 kids, and so she didn't have any downtime. But she really just the smartest woman that I know, and really just knowing that she supported me in it, it gave me the confidence to even try. She was ahead of her time, I think, and just a real forward thinker, and somebody who knew that it didn't matter what your gender was. You could do anything if you put your mind to it.
Definitely, definitely. Now, can you describe your current role at the moment at the hospital? What is your current role? What is your main responsibilities?
So, you name it, and I'm probably been working on it in the last several months. I work at an award-winning critical access hospital in rural Nebraska. I'm one of a handful of in-house programs I work for an independent service organization called Bioelectronics. They're centered in Lincoln, but I report to this hospital in Holdridge, Nebraska every day. And I'll tell you, I've got a lot of hats. I'm part of the maintenance team, but I sit on the safety and environment of care committee, capital planning committee. I have had lots of new equipment come in the years since I started. So several projects, along with just supporting the nurses and doing PMs and repairs. And I contribute to the success of both my ISO and my little community hospital. So I really get a little taste of everything in a day. And that's really what I love the most probably about HTM, is that there's no 2 days alike, and you get to kind of see where the day takes you.
Absolutely. No 2 days, no 2 hours sometimes.
That's so true. So true.
Oh, especially. I remember I went to this small hospital in a city called Gratiot, Michigan. And the facilities guys was also / security, also / housekeeping. I mean, they did it all except biomed. And they had one guy did that, but everybody was like all hands on deck every day. So I kind of can visualize what you're saying there. That's great. Now, you mentioned projects. What can you, I guess, share with us one of your most proud projects or accomplishments that you have accomplished in your HTM journey? Can you share one with us?
It's hard to narrow it down to one, honestly.
Or 2, 3.
I'll tell you the first big project I was on at the University of Minnesota. I thought, wow, they're really trusting me with something humongous here, and it was the intensive care unit turning over their monitors. But when I went to the schoolhouse in St. Cloud, Minnesota, that was a pretty cool project. I would say we partnered up with the nursing program at the college. And so the students in the biomed program got to do the biomed job for the nursing program at the college. So that was pretty cool little project. And we ended up getting an article published in the Journal of Clinical Engineering, creating a mock environment for the real world, I think is what that was called. And it was just something that was evidence that we can take down some of these silos and really work together so everybody wins. Of course, there's the apprenticeship that I obviously didn't invent the idea of an apprenticeship, but I had heard people talking in the field for a number of years about how we need people and how the workforce is aging and what can we do to solve this problem. And one day my boss's boss came to the shop and said, there's this big old mess, how are we going to clean up this mess? And it just hit me like, if you hire somebody, we can not only clean up the mess, but I can build you a biomed. I know, I've taught this stuff, so why wouldn't we? And that kind of rolled into something way bigger than I had imagined it would.
Man, that's good, man. That's outstanding. So you're the part of the brains behind this apprenticeship programs that's sweeping the United States right now. With a lot of ISOs are involved with this program. So, congrats.
Well, thank you.
You have apprentice programs when you're trying to become a plumber. So I guess you can apply the same thing. And it's funny how I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, most of the stuff I know, I learned on the job.
Mm-hmm.
And, you can learn a little bit about electronics from a book and you can memorize your medical terminology, but it's really when the boots are on the ground that the real learning begins. I would argue that most of us have been apprenticing since we got into the field. It wasn't formal.
Definitely. Because I remember you probably too, when you was in school, when you got to that internship, that's when all the lights cut on. You're like, oh, okay, now it makes sense. And that's a point you made, just made me think when you said that we probably all are continuous apprentice, because you kind of have to, because the way the industry is changing, it used to be, I guess it was changing every 10 years, 15. Now it's like every 2 to 3 years, technology is changing. And since we're talking about that, do you notice any type of trends that's going to shape the future of HTM? You see anything out there that's caught you?
Well, I think we all see that AI is going to turn our heads round and round. It's already started to impact some things like news and photos, and it's only going to continue to creep out there and change the way we think and the work we do. The pandemic pushed a few people to office out of their homes, and I don't know that biomeds will ever get the luxury of spending too much time officing out of their home. But I do think that it'll be interesting to see how the next generation of technology shapes the future of HTM.
Yeah,
I do think we're already being impacted by things like AI, though.
Funny how you mentioned AI. I was fortunate enough to attend the RSNA conference, and GE had AI part of their CT system. And what the system would do, it would adjust the table height up, down, back, forward, all from a little Big Brother camera above the table. So the fact that's helping the end user, most likely it's going to probably have some type of effect on the service part too, because what if AI start having defects, something with it? So it's definitely going to be in the future. And as HTM professionals, we're going to have to get with the trends. Some people might not want to get with that trend, but it's coming. And
well, Absolutely. And I know a lot of people when I started didn't really care too much about computers or the network and, kind of pointed the finger over to the IT department and said that's trouble for them. And I think we all know that we do our patients and our clinical staff an injustice if we don't know at least the basics of some of these systems and understand kind of that behind the wall, what's going on with that infrastructure. It just helps us solve the problems more quickly. And, when I first started in biomed, there were a lot fewer computers in medical devices, but today almost all the equipment has some kind of a chip in it, and it's getting smarter and smarter. The good news, I think, for the field is that we still, with AI and with all these revolutions in technology, we still have plenty of opportunities. You tell me a computer that you've ever met that didn't glitch, and it just doesn't happen. So we've got stuff to do. It might just look a little different how we do it.
Absolutely. And these young people, they know how to work the computers, the tablets, the VR headsets. I mean, that's a lot of things that the older ones like myself, I have to adjust to it. And we have to get with the times, because you mentioned remote workers. Now, I know, and you probably deal with it too, whenever I have an issue with my telemetry system, we call tech support, someone remotes in, takes over the unit. You couldn't do that back in the day because you didn't have a server. You had to come in on site to get. Now you can access it remotely, and that person can probably work from home in that aspect. So certain things like that might have opportunity for HTM professionals to work from home, because I see it with imaging also. They'll remote in and they'll watch your cat lab for you and let you know when they see certain trends coming up, and they'll alert you. So it's a lot of things that's happening. I think it's going to be very intriguing, I should say. And
great points.
Absolutely. Now, you're a female in the industry. I don't know, how many females do you have in your work within your company? Just out of curiosity,
let's see. I think there's just 2 technicians that are female.
And what's the total? What's the total techs you have?
And I think there's 25 technicians total.
Okay, so
we have some support staff at the main office that are female, but I think there's 5 or 6 of us total that are working for the company. Only 2 of us are technicians.
Okay, so what that is, that's a 1.10%.
That's about the
8%.
AMY survey average. Yes.
8%. That's not bad. All right.
I can say, though, when I started at the University of Minnesota, we had 3 of the 10 technicians were female.
Oh, wow.
So I was a little bit spoiled that way. And I've met a lot of awesome female technicians. And I really just want to give a shout out to all of them, because it is a bit of a challenge to be confident and just know that it doesn't matter. Some of those things really don't matter. Just like my mom helped me believe, it's not, there's nothing that will hold you back except what's between your 2 ears.
That's it. Now that we're talking about these females in the industry, now, what advice can you give to a young woman aspiring to enter into the HTM industry? Like, you had a high school career day, and a young lady just comes up to you and say, I want to do this. After hearing your spiel about it, what would you tell them to encourage them to continue to join?
I would say, here's my number. How can I help? Get involved. This is the best kept secret. You will never regret it. You will be rewarded in ways that you can't even imagine. And there's something for everyone in HTM.
Preach. Amen, sister. Okay, that's good for the young ones. What about this female who's been in the industry for 5 to 10 years and they just seem to be stagnated? What advice would you give to them?
If you're not reaching out to me, reach out to another female leader in the industry. We have a growing network of females that all we want to do is help elevate each other and make sure that other females get that boost that they need to know that they are in the right place and their contributions are important. We have, unfortunately, sometimes females don't push each other up. And that is one thing that I think as a society we could do better. But there's a lot of women, especially in this field, that really want to embrace the next generation, be it male or female, and help them grow the potential that we have. First and foremost, we got to get the word out about what is HTM, where are we, who are we, what do we do? And from there, we really just have so many opportunities. There's so many little jewels in this industry. You can do just about anything. Just the number of employers, you can be an expert at something, work for the manufacturer. You can work for an ISO or a OEM and travel every day. You can report to a critical access hospital or a huge 1,000-bed metropolitan hospital. And every one of those scenarios is going to lead you into so many different avenues and so many different opportunities that you never knew you were missing until you got started.
That's now you touched on something that's near and dear to me also. This industry is like a secret society or something. In your opinion, how can we spread the word? What could we do to improve on making awareness? Because the podcast might not do enough, but what else can we do to make awareness besides going to the schools? What else do you think that we can do?
I really think that we don't take enough opportunities to kind of rub elbows with the C-suite and make sure that even in our own facilities that everybody knows who we are and the value that we add to the facility. I think a lot of things start right at home, right within your reach. And if you put your passion out every single day and show people why the work you do is meaningful, and don't be afraid to toot your horn once in a while, so people will really understand that what you do is important and it does impact patient safety. It does impact staff satisfaction. It does impact the whole shebang. Then that's a start.
Yeah, definitely. You are absolutely right about within the hospital. You would be surprised how many people don't know what biomed is, and you work in a hospital with them.
Yeah.
But I was always thinking, like, say, I don't know how many people we have in the United States that's biomeds. Just say it's 10,000. And I always wondered if the 10,000 technicians, if each person was to say, I'm going to tell 4 people about the industry, that could be 40,000 people that's hearing about it. And
You are so spot on. So spot on. I actually did collaborated with a female colleague a couple years ago to do a session at Amy, Fuel to Thrive in HTM. And that was the call, the challenge that we gave was just tell 2 people in your network. And, those waves will continue out. And if people see how much reward and satisfaction that I get from this, it's going to make them think. It's going to make them think about, who in my neighborhood or who in my network is looking for something. And I go to a lot of these, student, what do they call them? The
career days,
healthcare, and yes, and speak and say, if you know somebody who likes to tinker and wants to help people and has some communication skills and isn't afraid, has that need for some excitement in their life, and send them my way. Tell them about biomed.
Yep.
And tell, even if it's not you that this sounds appealing to, if you know somebody, could you just do them a favor and tell them about this really cool career field?
Absolutely. I know of 2 people that I was just telling them, they just asked about my son, and I told them he's in biomed, and they told their nephew. He didn't want to do it, but the other cousin did. So he finished the program. Now he's doing biomed. And that simply came from a simple conversation. And the part I tell a lot of people, when you join this industry, you have a career. It's not a job. It's not like you just went to school and took a trade. You can do so much in this industry to where you can start off as a BMed 1, and in 5 years, you could be a specialist and making a good living and not being entirely in a lot of debt from school. So that's one of the best parts. The return on investment for becoming a BMed is unbelievable.
It's huge. It's huge. And with the apprenticeship, you have no student debt.
Yeah.
And you really are, even if you have a 2-year degree, you really are getting a huge return on the investment. And, if you start working in a hospital and see, oh my goodness, look at they're doing these really futuristic cases in the cath lab, or, I'm just, I didn't realize that I love the water sport of dialysis, that just trickles into the next phase of your career. But you'll never get bored in biomed.
Never.
Because it's so big and there's so many different opportunities.
It's funny you mentioned dialysis. I did dialysis for 7 years, and it's amazing how you have the electrical flow pad and then you have a fluid flow pad. So both of those are right inside the machine, and that's not even counting the RO system. It's a whole nother thing. But it's just amazing how that piece of equipment is saving that patient's life. Without that equipment, that patient can't live. So when you're working on this, literally. So when you're working on equipment in a hospital, I don't think we realize that, because we see so much in the shop that everything we touch is making someone's life better. And that's something that gives you the return also. You putting something in, you saving lives and don't even realize it. It's just
Absolutely. It's very fulfilling.
That's the word I'm looking for, fulfilling. That's it. You hit it on the head. Now, you mentioned that you have a husband and some little kiddos. I don't know if they're small kids still. How old are your kids?
They actually range from my daughter is turning 13 this month. And my youngest, my oldest just turned 30 last month.
You got a spectrum there.
And I've got a handful, few boys in between.
Okay. So my question to you is, how do you manage a work-life balance? Especially you mentioned how you were in a hospital where you wear a number of hats. How do you balance that work-life balance? Because that's important now.
I would say I had a great mentor. My mom, remember, she had 8 children and she made it look effortless. She really was and is to this day my rock star mama. For me, honestly, a big part of it is my faith. I have been blessed beyond any dream my dreams were way too small. And my creator said, "Oh, look, watch this." And I have a great network of female and male colleagues, and my husband, he's just amazing. He definitely drives me crazy because I'm married to him and I have to live with him, but he's also a great rock that has pushed me to jump in whenever I could and has always encouraged, when I got my first leadership job in biomed, he was the first to point out, you're not really qualified for this, but he was also the first to recognize that I worked my tail off to make sure that I nailed it. And it really is a lot about balance. I try to take care of myself today, try to get enough rest. I never miss an opportunity to hang out with my grandsons or my kids. We prioritize time together and just really, I try to be very mindful about what's important. And I would say that family is number one. And God is my family. So he's right in there.
That's it. And the whole key to the thing, I tell everyone, you work to live. You don't live to work. And I think people get that twisted, and you got to go home and cut it off. It might be hard, but you have to. And it's amazing how they have the saying that behind every great man is a great woman. So I guess in your situation, behind every great woman is a great man, because you hit on the head. You can't do it without that support. I don't care how good you are. If you don't have that support at home, you're not going to be able to come up with the idea about the apprenticeship program. You're not going to be able to go to work and do what you do unless you have that support. And that's very encouraging to hear. And I think that's encouraging for those who may be listening to know that you have to put your family first. People say it, but do people really do it? It's the key, because you have to. If you're not putting your family first, what are you doing?
I couldn't agree more. Yeah. And I've asked my kids to make sure and call me out if I am getting off balance. But I really do try to make time for, my daughter, the youngest. She likes to go out for little cruises and just to chat my ear off and listen to music. And it's some of the most enjoyable time that I have these days. My boys, they challenge me with some other fun stuff, but they all keep me on my toes, and it really is. I wouldn't want to spend life any other way.
Yeah. And I know when I used to be on a challenging job, or if I'm having a challenging day, I used to keep my kids on my desk, and I just look at the picture. You know what? This is why I'm here. Keep that before you. This is why I'm here. So you got to keep you calm. You can't tell that nurse what you might be thinking, or you can't tell that coworker you have to stay focused, because what you do on the job affects what happens at home. So I used to keep my kids right in front of me just to keep me motivated, because you need that motivation. You need that inspiration. And most of the time, family is the inspiration and motivation for 90, probably 100% of people that's working, unless you don't have one. But that's my motivation. And it sounds like that's yours also. And
absolutely.
And that's good. I mean, if you have a good family, then it will show in your work. And it's something that you definitely can continue to grow with. Now, let me ask you this question. As far as professionally, how do you stay updated with the different things going on in the HTM industry? How do you continue to grow professionally? What do you do?
I'd say my network helps a lot with that. I'm very involved with my local HTM society, and they help, the quarterly meetings and the annual symposium. I asked for things, when we got new ultrasounds, I asked if I could go to training, and they said yes. So just speaking up for myself, just saying, I don't really feel comfortable working on that sophisticated of equipment without some kind of training. But I read, I still get paper copies of a lot of our biomed focused magazines. I listen to podcasts, and thank you for having podcasts to listen to. I listen to people like Justin Barber on YouTube, and of course the Bearded Biomed, just to try to keep my fingers in as many pies as possible, and just really try to be at least somewhat in the loop on what's coming down the pike. And really, because I'm just kind of a nerd that way. I'm interested in a lot of those things. And so I just want to know. I don't maybe read to the deepest level, but I try to brief myself on a lot of stuff just so I kind of know. And then that if I'm interested in something, or if something really intrigues me, then I'll dig a little deeper.
You did, that's some information you named there with the different podcasts, and I get motivated from all of those people, and you also. I mean, you may not think you encourage and motivate people, but you do. And I tell people all the time, you don't have to have a podcast to be inspirational, motivational. Just coming to work and doing everything the right way is motivational, is inspirational. And sharing your wisdom with others, sharing your wisdom with Amy, coming up with The Apprentice. I mean, that's inspirational. I mean, you can share something and then someone can build on that. Like I said, you might not make the fire, but you could do the spark that turns into, however that quote goes. But you have that in you, which is why I wanted to bring you on, because I think people should know about Maggie B. But
well, thank you.
Well, let me ask you another question. And
sure.
As far as how long you've been in the industry now?
It's about at 14 years.
14 years. Wow. There you go, man. And do you see, let's just say you've been doing this 14 years. Have it changed a lot in your opinion? Not the technology, of course, that has changed. But as far as the technician, because you may have some biomed HTM professionals, I try to say that too. You may have some that's refuse to change. Have you noticed the technicians in your area evolving? Or I'll say in the industry. We're not going to pinpoint one person. Do you see them evolving also, or do you see them resisting change, in your opinion?
In my opinion, I would say most technicians are embracing the change. And maybe I've been accused of being an optimist and seeing, the bright side more than anything. But I'm thinking back to my beginning days with Fairview, and there was only one technician that really, I don't think, cared to know much or think much about what's coming down the pike. I would say most of us were just really excited to be part of something that was so, I want to say, exclusive. I mean, we really are such a niche little group of people that that's kind of exciting in some ways, but without each other, it would be a lot scarier than it is. And I think if you are involved with your local society or with the AMI and national, societies, that there's so much opportunity to be involved in, then you see that here today, gone tomorrow, everything's changing. I mean, vital signs machines really haven't changed that much in essence, that there's some basic parameters and now maybe they can interface with the network, but it's not that the vital signs monitor has changed so much. It's just the importance of it being ready and the way it needs to interface, the way it needs to be ready, and how we can really impact it being available and safe for our patients. I just don't see a lot of technicians that are limiting themselves, thinking, well, that's somebody else's job and that's somebody else's problem. I think most technicians that I've been fortunate to know are bigger thinkers. They're trying to think outside the box. They're trying to solve problems and really add value. That at least the good ones.
Yeah, and that's a good point about the vital signs monitors. They just got a lot cuter, touchscreen.
Yeah,
You can plug the unit.
Maybe a little smaller, but
smaller and smaller. Some fragile, some robust. But like you said, and the test equipment, that's the one thing I noticed. Like the ESU analyzers, I mean, the new ones, you really have to read that manual.
Yeah.
I mean, it's challenging,
It's different.
Yes,
it is different.
But it does a lot of testing that is required for these new ESU units. So you can't use the old tester on it because it's not going to give you a full PM. So you have to get the latest test equipment, and you have to, and that's what I like. I think a lot of older biomeds get challenged at with this new technology, and they get, I guess, nervous instead of just saying, embracing it. Some of them shy away from it, and that's what I noticed, because we was laughing in the shop one day talking about documentation. Like when I came to the industry, it was no EMR system, so every piece of equipment had a manila folder. So when you went to the floor, you had to bring that folder with you with the history in it. And then they eventually came out with electronic systems. But that was the first 7 years. I'm like, man, I had to practice my penmanship. I had to make sure I didn't bring the folders home. And there's a lot of stuff that's advanced. And I tell the kids, you can do your work now from your cell phone.
That's
And
right.
you
That's
could be on
right.
the floor and you can actually close a work order. And it's just how times are changing. And like you said, you have to change with them. Well, Maggie, I enjoyed talking with you, but I want you to share one more thing with the audience. I want you to give some, because you gave a lot of wisdom for females, but I want you to give some encouragement to all HTM professionals, male and female, young and old. What could you share with them as far as?
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to really at least try to give some encouragement to all of my human counterparts, because, you were talking about the seasoned technicians that sometimes might tend to shy away from some of the newer technology. But I can tell you that I want to be arm in arm with my seasoned technician as we go in and look at some of these systems that, they know inside and out. And year after year, even though the face might have changed, that the internal system really hasn't changed much. What I love about the seasoned folks is that they can kind of show us where we've been so that we can make a better trip forward instead of trying to recreate the wheel. We can really work on getting it to spin a little nicer just because we have that historic perspective. I think the saddest part about this retirement exodus that we've got going on right now is that I'm not sure that we're getting all of that wealth of knowledge to be passed on to the next generation. I would like to encourage us to invite any of these retirees to continue to speak at our engagements and help bring in people from their community. They still have all that knowledge. Mentor, make videos, interview on these podcasts, just so that some of that information won't be lost. And at the end of the day, we are all humans. We have certain needs, and that is so important to keep us kind of grounded and not put ourselves above or below anyone else. But it's those unique experiences that none of us share that makes us so much richer when we come together and we try to problem solve. And there's also so much information and so many people that care so much about just making sure that you and I and everybody in this field have the tools we need to really be great.
Well said, well said. And you said a great point about the seasoned veterans, seasoned technicians, working on and on with them. And I always tease the guys in the shop. They'll be like, man, you've been doing this 30 years. I said, yeah, but the stuff I worked on 30 years ago is not in the hospital right now. So you got to stay going, because you might be in it 30 years, but some of the stuff maybe, I take that back. You might find a striker table here or two that's 30 years old. But
that's probably, yeah.
But
I know some of those Dopplers, those old Dopplers are still around. And, and that the young people to just bring so much energy and vibrance and, and great ideas, different perspectives and that tech savviness that you were talking about. I am so encouraged. I used to coach robotics when we lived in Minnesota, and I know that the future is bright when you look and see some of these kids that can program a robot to do really things that would be difficult for a lot of people to do. And, these guys were in grade school and middle school doing this stuff. So we don't have anything to worry about as long as we put our priorities in the right place. And I think that children and education need to be high priorities.
Absolutely. I agree with you 1,000%. Like this staffing issue, I tell everybody, these young people can fix that, man. We just got to let them do their thing. Don't stifle them. We got to turn them loose, and they're gonna fix it because they see it from a different angle than we see it. We see it the way they're looking at it from another perspective, and all they need is a little guidance, and that's where we help them, and they can turn them loose. And I'm telling you, it's going to be like unbelievable, and I look forward to it. Maggie, I appreciate you coming on. You welcome back anytime. Can't wait to see you again.
Thank you.
And we can talk, and feel like I know a lot more about you now than I did before. So I appreciate the time you spent with us. And I wish you nothing but much love and success, and keep that family bond growing, because that's the key to Maggie's success in the HTM industry. And we need you in the HTM industry. So keep doing what you're doing, Maggie.
Well, thank you for all your kind words. And I will be at the Amy Exchange in June doing a presentation on documentation, something that we don't have a lot of resources for, but we all know it impacts our daily life. So I hope to run into you and so many other of our HTM colleagues there and really talk about this stuff, because it is the squeaky wheel that gets the grease. Right. Anybody in biomed knows that's the truth. So be the squeaky wheel. That's what I want to encourage all your listeners. Be the squeaky wheel.
That's it. Great. Thanks, Maggie. Thank you for tuning in to HTM On The Line podcast. For more engaging content, including podcasts, HTM motivational videos, blogs, and monthly newsletters, be sure to visit us at htmontheline.com. Don't forget to share these valuable resources with your fellow HTM professionals. Till we meet again, thank you and take care.